I hate to just jump right into semantics, but I think that's kind of an important thing to talk about right now, because you sent out this message talking about a a possible closure of Cal Expo. And where I want to start off right now is, if you were to walk past a person on the street and say, "Hey, is Cal Expo open?" I think just in the back of their head, they'd probably say like, "Oh no, of course not. Everything's canceled right now. There's no events going on." So what exactly are you saying here when you're talking about Cal Expo possibly closing next month?
Well, Cal Expo is a non-funded state agency, meaning the revenue we generate goes back into buying property insurance, paying the utility bills, paying all of our employees that are all state employees. They're all represented by collective bargaining agreements with like SEIU, ASME, other union organizations. So we cover all those costs as an unfunded state agency. And we do that by the large, like the auto shows, the sportsman's expos, the state fair. Then we have a handful of tenants like Raging Waters, Water Park, Rock and Brews restaurant, which is trying to get open, horse racing, our RV campgrounds. So there's a number of different revenue sources that come to bear that keep us open. Since COVID hit back in March, we've canceled all events, and we ended up canceling the state fair in keeping with the governor's executive order. So people are sheltering in place. But we also pivoted immediately back in March to begin supporting the state, the county, the region, the city's efforts to address COVID. So we have the most active drive-through COVID testing facility in the state taking place here at Cal Expo. We're doing that with the Governor's Office of Emergency Services and the County of Sacramento. So more than 20,000 people from this region have driven through the testing facility here. If people are interested in receiving a free test, they can go online to Sacramento County, or they can come to Cal Expo's website, and we have a hot link back to the county. Fill out a questionnaire and schedule an appointment for the drive-through. We were also tasked with supporting the city and the county in hosting 63 trailers, RV trailers from FEMA. And we've set up a compound area, which is an isolation recovery area for local homeless that are assigned to these trailers that either have COVID or they're in the high risk categories, like with respiratory issues or other health issues that make them more susceptible to COVID. During the recent unrest in Sacramento last month, we had more than 1,000 National Guard troops stationed here. So we are currently on high alert to potentially be activated as a support fire camp or to shelter people and large animals. So it all depends on where the fires are at and how CAL FIRE and the Office of Emergency Services are doing. So we remain open and active in an emergency support capacity, but because we're not doing events and we're not doing the state fair, our revenue is down by over 80%. So when we say close state fair, we won't have, with no revenue coming in, we won't have enough money to make payroll, pay property insurances, utilities, all those things to keep the facility open. So legislators, particularly Senator Pan, being a medical doctor, he came out, he's toured the property, he's looked at these emergency services and believes they're very important to the state. So he and other legislators have indicated a very strong commitment to take some existing state emergency funds and keep the doors open at Cal Expo so we can continue to be here in these times of emergencies for the community. So the budget hasn't been fully adopted by the legislature yet or signed by the governor, but we're hearing from the good senator and other people that they definitely want to see Cal Expo remain available as emergency support facility during these times of needs.
And just so I'm clear, if you guys close your doors, what does that spell out for the FEMA trailers, the testing site that's there? Do they stay there or do they got to go? What exactly happens to them?
Well, we don't have answers on those questions. The senator is aware of those questions and has also I believe he's made his fellow legislators aware of those questions as well. And at least from what he shared with us, he appreciates what we're doing and wants to financially support us so we can continue to do that. What some people aren't aware of is that we have our own police department in statute, our own security force. So it's our police officers and our security staff that are supporting the trailers project as well as the drive-through testing facility. And yet we receive no tax support from the state, the city, or the county.
And I think that's a valid point. I've talked to a lot of fairgrounds about the situation they find themselves in. You guys are the business of mass gatherings, and it's really been derailed so far. What I'm getting at right now is that 2020 has been, I think, a demonstrable year for what flexibility the fairgrounds have, and not just the fair. I'm talking about the fairgrounds as the OES operating centers. You guys flipped on a dime to be the COVID testing site, the FEMA trailers, and that's true for so many of them that are dealing with wildfires right now as well. Mm-hmm. What do you say to, I guess in general, this year 2020 and what it represents for the fairgrounds?
What do I say for this year, 2020?
Sorry. I know. Let me rephrase that. So what do you say for, there's a word I'm looking for, the way the fairgrounds have responded to 2020 in terms of when people turn to them in a time of need? Okay.
Well, I mean, we as a state fair have been in existence for more than 165 years. As a place, as a safe gathering place. Some people refer to it as the state fair. We've been on this piece of property since 1968, so for quite a bit of time. And we've always been a place where the community feels comfortable to come and gather. So whether it's a state fair, whether it's a home and garden show or an auto show, whether it's the home for Sacramento Republic, and helping them move from USL Pro up to MLS, which is a big deal. People have felt a sense of comfort at Cal Expo. We've also been a historically large economic generator in this region, not only from the number of people we employ and the number of people that are employed by our various business partners, but we're also a major generator of sales tax. When you think of the RV shows, the boat shows that take place here, many people described us as one of the highest selling restaurants, if you will. We feed between 2 and 3 million people a year that enjoy that special food, whether they're at a Sac Republic game or a horse race or state fair or an event. But we've been called upon before to support the state's emergency needs. During the Oroville Dam incident, we sheltered people that were evacuated from Oroville, them and their animals. We shelter them in our buildings, at our racetrack, also in our RV park. We have sheltered people from the campfire and other fires from Napa. We've coordinated sheltering with FEMA in the past as well, from large family units that were displaced because of the fire, that they were able to come and be in a FEMA trailer, a large FEMA housing FEMA trailer for a family unit for, I think, 6 to 8 months while they, figured out what to do since their home and their property had burned, like in the campfire. We've been used by the Office of Emergency Services and the Red Cross on a regular basis. For example, there was one day where they packaged 10,000 meals were sent out from Cal Expo to support the firefighters on the front line and the other fire camps. So being available in a time of emergency, there's assets that we have. For example, we pump our own groundwater, we treat it, and we put it up in that large, iconic Cal Expo water tower. So we have our own water supply, which not many people can be self-sufficient on water. Not many facilities are designed to be that way. We also have a 1 megawatt photovoltaic or solar energy system on the property. So we have the ability to generate electricity and stay open when other people don't have electricity. We are the designated fallback seat of state government in the government's continuity of governance plan. So if the capital is evacuated, half the capital is assigned to come to Cal Expo to keep state government functioning during a disaster. We're part of the tsunami recovery program for the San Francisco Bay Area. And then the state and the federal government has designated Cal Expo as the national pharmaceutical stockpile in the case of a pandemic. So at such time as vaccines or medical supplies would be shipped to Northern California by the federal government, Cal Expo is one of the key distribution points for all of Northern California. So, and we're all praying and hoping for that vaccine to come about too. So Cal Expo is an emergency facility as a community support. I mean, there's things that you've mentioned, but there's other things like the blood drives that we're doing. Next Monday, we have a community drive for school supplies that'll be going to the Sacramento Children's Center so that they can actually help some of the kids that are struggling right now. Even though they're working from home, they still don't have school supplies and they don't have a way to go to school and get that type of assistance. So we're constantly looking for how can we help the community. Red Cross tends to be a great partner with us. Salvation Army, I mean, for a number of years now, we helped Salvation Army provide food, clothing, Christmas support for more than 2,000 families in the Sacramento region. Our State Fair farm, we harvest all the fruits and vegetables and produce that come out of our State Fair farm, and we turn it over to the local food banks. So multiple tons of food, and then just general food drives. So not only food drives during the State Fair that we give to Sacramento and Elk Grove Food Bank, but also we just did a food drive with SMUD about 2.5 weeks ago, because all the food banks are literally starving for food as well. So supporting the community is what we've always been about. Even when we do the fair, when you think about it, it's an opportunity to showcase the talent of the community. On the community stages, when 50 people from 57 of the state's 58 counties competed at the California State Fair in 2019. So when you compare the state fair to county fairs are wonderful in their environment within their county, but there's only one fair in the state who's authorized in statute to have and challenged to have a statewide reach. So again, when you think 2 to 3 million people, when you think of the state fair, it's pretty awesome to think people from 57 to 58 counties actually compete at their state fair. I've probably over-answered your question, but when you say 2020, I think, I don't know what it will be termed when we get to 2021. When people say, you know, are you hopeful for light at the end of the tunnel? Absolutely. The challenge is we don't know where the end of the tunnel is going to be. I think we hope and pray, and we would like to see COVID just go away, but reality is it's here, and we don't know what a rebound may look like, and we all want recovery to happen. You know, Sac Republic is playing soccer games with no fans. So they've had to lay off a bunch of their employees. Cal Expo, we're going through the state layoff process as well. But and we're hopeful that the state will be able to help us with some level of emergency funding, but there will still be quite a few less staff at Cal Expo keeping the doors open. And it is a large piece of property. It's roughly 800 acres. And 400 acres of Cal Expo is the American River Parkway.
So Rick, that is a lot
Sorry
more
about
than I think most people expect.
Yeah, well, and Tom Martinez would always remind me I need to pause more frequently so these things can be edited properly. So my apologies on that.
No, don't worry about it. Let's see here. So I hate these kind of questions, but you know, especially considering that you guys kind of have some, there's some positivity in terms of getting funding through the budget. But, you know, what exactly is the worst case scenario here? If you guys don't get funding, you guys have to close. What exactly ends up stopping, and how long does that last? Is it kind of like a light switch scenario? So to kind of categorize that a little bit better.
Yeah, My apologies for this, but I work really hard not to answer what if questions because I don't have those answers. I think good leaders recognize when they don't have the answers, and their job is to try and help find out what the answers are. So those types of questions have been put forward to other agencies, to whether it's a Department of General Services or Department of Finance or the Attorney General's office. There are contracts in place that need to be dealt with. We have tenant agreements in place, like water park, like a new Rock and Brews restaurant. The harness racing operator is a private corporation with contracts in place. Sac Republic has contracts in place. So there's a number of contractual issues that would need to be touched. There's the entire concept of a number of state employees. And even though we're laying off employees, we're not laying off the whole organization. So who would absorb payroll? Who would absorb all the insurance costs? Cal Expo pays for the property insurance, fire insurance, general liability insurances, workers' comp insurances, unemployment insurances. So who would absorb those types of costs? So we've made these questions. We've outlined the questions. Our board has wrestled with the questions, but we also realize that we don't have the answers to all those questions. So our goal is to continue to work closely with the other state agencies. The one that we work the closest with currently is the Office of Emergency Services, because we're very closely tied together in responding to a variety of emergencies right now.
So just the last question for you here. In terms of asking for state funds or state money, why exactly, and this is a question I ask everyone, is not everyone goes to the fair like they used to. You have the people who go every year, multiple times a year. You have some people who go on special occasions, maybe once. And then there's people who say, it's 102 degrees on July, I'm not walking on the asphalt.
Sure.
So knowing all that, why exactly should fairs or should Cal Expo get state funds? Why does it matter?
So I think you're asking me, what about all those people that love coming to the fair? What about the expanded base of people that are coming to the fair? I think many times people don't track well what's, not only is this the longest running event in many communities, the California State Fair was the first professional sporting activity in Sacramento. Horse racing became popularized, legalized, etc. State Fair was very involved in that. And now we have the newest professional sport in Sacramento, Sac Republic, taking place here on the property. If people were to compare the State Fair attendance, they would start to realize that more people come through Cal Expo in a year than go through the Kings Arena or the Sacramento Convention Center. I mean, that's people don't do that type of comparison. More people come to the 17 days of the California State Fair. Well, let me back up. The California State Fair 17 days of attendance is comparable to the entire home season of the Sacramento Kings. So figure 45 to 48 home games. More people than that come to the State Fair in 17 days. So how do you compare those two? There's not another facility, an entertainment type venue, public facility in the entire Northern California that has 2 to 3 million people a year come onto the property. When people talk about, yes, not only has July been hot, but 2017 and 2018 were the two hottest Julys in recorded history in Sacramento, which was quite amazing. 2019 was a little bit cooler and our attendance bounced back, but people frequently will say State Fair attendance has gone down without paying attention to the attendance of all of our other events. For example, when we have more than 100 plus events taking place here, that's going to spread out our attendance. So people who might have had a tradition of coming to the state fair and having a tri-tip sandwich and something cold to drink 4 weeks before the state fair, they can now come here to the Sacramento County Fair. Or a few weeks after the state fair, there's another 80,000 person event taking place at Cal Expo. Or instead of coming to the country music concert during state fair, we now have a 2-day music festival, Country in the Park. So you can come and get something cold to drink and have your tri-tip sandwich and enjoy country music. So our entertainment offering now is year-round versus just locked into those 17 days. And people go back in time and look at, well, state fair used to have an attendance of this level. Well, back in that time period, we were Labor Day weekend and school didn't start until after Labor Day. When school starting earlier and earlier in August, and my wife's a teacher, I love her for that, investing in kids. But you know, she's back in class the second week of August, and all the students are back, the middle of August. So that was really the driving decision. I wasn't here when the decision was made, but I've read the documents. The real driving decision of moving state fair into July was tied to school starting, because our mission is statewide, and for people to participate in our competitions, particularly young people, the ideal time is when they're not in school. Whereas when you're competing at a county fair like LA County Fair, they're on top of schools, and Fresno are on top of schools because their kids are only traveling 30 miles to come to the fair or to compete at the fair. In our case, we have people from LA, San Diego, Yuba City, all over the place coming to compete and participate at state fair. Again, I've probably over answered your question, but it's culture, it's tradition, it's building a stronger community. Those are all things that are near and dear to who we've been and who we are. And then paying attention to changes. We created an esports tournament and brought in Cal, Berkeley, Sac State, we had so many universities participate, and it was actually the kids from Rockland High that won last year in 2019. So that makes us all feel a little older. These kids are faster on games. You mentioned video games. Those young guys can do it quick. We created the first U.S. drone racing championship, and everybody said, "What's drone racing?" And we created it here. A few years ago, we launched our Out at the State Fair program for our LGBT community statewide, wildly successful, but state fairs hadn't done that across the country. 2 years ago, this was a heavy lift. We created the first statewide youth mariachi competition. And we partnered with Univision and brought in 10 youth mariachi teams from around the state, from down to El Centro, San Diego, up through LA Basin, up through the Central Valley. We had an elementary school team from Salinas that were migrant farm worker kids that if they participated in the program, they got an instrument, and then they eventually earned the cost of the outfit, and then they got to come to their state fair. And while all these teams were here, we took them on a tour of the state capitol, took them to Old Town Sacramento. They got to practice and rehearse at Sac State in the music rooms. So great outreach for Sac State. We had a couple of restaurants provide food for a 3-day event. And then Mariachi Vargas was our headliner. So all 10 of those teams got to go backstage, meet Vargas, shake their hand, and take a picture with them. And these are kids, like when I say El Centro, that would have probably in their lifetime might not have ever come to the state capitol. But to take a picture with Vargas, I don't know if you know mariachi music or Vargas, but they are they are the pinnacle of mariachi music around the world, so to speak. So our state fair is different, and we pride ourselves on that, and we continue to evolve and change. Because we're the state fair, we do the statewide professional wine competition. We have craft beer in California has skyrocketed, so we're a premier craft beer competition. UC Davis established new criteria for olive oil, so we're the statewide olive oil competition, and we're also the statewide cheese. Most people don't realize that California is the #1 dairy state in the nation, and cheese is a total massive component of what comes out of our dairy industry. So again, we're different than a county fair. We support the county fairs. When you win at the county fair, you get a chance to come and compete at the state fair. So it's something to strive for. Those are all good things. I'm going to turn my volume. I see you nodding. I can't hear if you're asking me something or not.
Oh, no. I have my mic muted right here. But yeah, Rick. So that pretty much wraps up all my questions. I like long answers. I really do. I'll let the broadcast producers worry about that. So
let them edit it.
Yeah.
Well, I think Senator Pan, I really, when I read his op-ed piece, his statement that Cal Expo has been here for the state, for the region, the county, and the city during our times of need. And now that Cal Expo, because of the coronavirus, is at a time of need, the senator's suggestion is we need to be there and support Cal Expo.
Rick, just clarifying details. I totally respect the what ifs scenarios. I totally get that myself. I don't partake of it either. But just in terms of what we were, because I mentioned the testing site and the FEMA trailers. So what we're saying is that these are questions we just don't know the answer to yet.
Well, I mean, we don't know the answer to those questions, but people that aren't involved in operational details, for example, who's pumping the water, treating the water, and putting it in the water tower so people in the trailers and in the testing facility have potable water and have restrooms that flush and sanitary facilities. So somebody has to do that. The parking lots don't take care of themselves. So who's taking care of the weeds? Who's taking care of the asphalt, the aging infrastructure? Who's maintaining the air conditioning, the electrical systems that are here, the fire alarm systems that are in place? It's not a matter of somebody drives down the street and they say, hey, we've got asphalt in front of our house. But then suddenly if the city or the county is no longer there and your asphalt part falls apart, who fixes it? If there's no street sweeping on your street and the leaves fall from the trees and they clog up the storm drain and then the water floods the storm drains and comes into your house, that's when you go, oh, that's why they sweep those streets. They're trying to keep the debris out of the storm drains, which also keeps it out of the river and keeps it out of the ocean, particularly heavy metals from our car. Sorry, I used to manage cities, so I know way too much about if the city wasn't sweeping your street or keeping the lights on the traffic signals, all those types of things. So Cal Expo is a major piece of infrastructure that if somebody says, let's just close the gates, the question is, what do you do with the infrastructure? So yes, a car could drive through and I guess a person could get tested, but if the electricity isn't working properly or the air conditioning in the testing building isn't working properly, if the people that are working in the building can't use the restrooms and flush the toilets or have sanitary or even potable water.
Yeah, I get what you mean. It's not a single question. It's kind of like an ecosystem of questions, right?
I think you hit it very well. Definitely an ecosystem of questions. It's where you live right now. If the electricity went off, who are you going to call? You got somebody. I know you got somebody you would call. Or something broke, you would call somebody.
Okay.
So at this point in time, we're the somebody who takes those calls when it comes to Cal Expo.
Okay, great.
It almost sounds like a Ghostbuster motto. Who are you going to call? I don't know.
All right, Rick. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Hope you have a good day. I hope I didn't pull you away too long from anyone.
So Eric, where's home for you right now? You said you've been home.
Oh yeah, I live in Elk Grove. I'm originally from Turlock. So
okay. So you got a lot of connections in Turlock still, family?
Oh yeah, most of my family's from Stanislaus. So.
All right. So, but you're also used to heat.
Yeah, I'm wearing a jacket right now. I wore a jacket when it was 109 degrees. I mean, I can wear a jacket when it's in here at 78. I'm fine.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, Turlock's important to the state. I mean, without Turlock, we don't eat. Exactly. When you think about it, the whole Central Valley is, man, we'd be in a world of hurt without the food coming out of the Central Valley. Well, and that's another thing. We were the first state fair in America to do a celebration of farm workers And we brought in the Chavez Foundation, the UFW. We brought them here to Cal Expo. At that time, Jerry Brown was governor, and we brought Jerry in a few years ago, and we put on display his original Farm Workers Bill of Rights that he signed in the 1970s. And then the UFW brought in presidents from different affiliates around the state. We did a massive ribbon cutting and did a salute to not only Cesar, but also to Larry Itleon and Dolores Huerta. And we got written up in Salon magazine of who is the California State Fair. And isn't it wonderful that they're paying attention to the people that touch our food, that grow our food, that we don't eat without farm workers. So when we talk about our state fair is a little different than other states, we say that in a proud way.